Yeah, it is. Yeah, of course it is, and it's uncharacteristic errors as well. So that obviously makes it, I should imagine, not just for myself and Sheffield United supporters, but the players themselves who have made that error. So, and you get punished in the Premier League. You know, it's not like the Championship or League One where you make an error and it doesn't always result in a goal. The majority of times you make an error and the ball's in the back of your net, and first goal is important. The timings of the goals have been poor as well. Down to 10 minutes at Newcastle and straight away we concede a goal. After 5 minutes at Manchester United, 5 minutes before half-time against Manchester United. In our best period of the game against Arsenal, and we give a penalty away, and then we get ourselves back into the game against Arsenal and really positive in our approach second half, and believed if we'd have took it into extra time that we would have got the result that we wanted, and the timing of that goal as well. So individual errors, nobody rectifying that individual error on the second part, and the timing of the goals is not going to allow you to get a result. And that's, for me, there's been obviously a few players that have not hit the heights that they have done before we stopped. That does affect the rhythm of the team, and certainly conceding the goals that we've conceded definitely affects the rhythm and the confidence of the team. So it's a combination of quite a few things. But the positive point of view is that players gave me everything on Sunday. The distances they covered were greater than the majority of games we've played all season. So that shows me that they've got a spirit and they want to run around and they want to turn this little bit of a mini dip into back onto where we want to be.
And I suppose in theory there can be few better teams to put all those wrongs right, if you like, than a side that comes here containing the likes of Son and Kane up front.
Yeah, and then they're not going to come back and sit on the crossbar, are they? They're going to go for a win. And rightly so. They'll identify this game as one that they should be winning. So I understand that. I think majority of teams should be, every time they play Sheffield United, be identifying that game as one that they really should be winning. But it hasn't been that case, and hopefully that won't be the case on Thursday, and we'll be doing as everything as we possibly can to get the result for ourselves.
And if you were to win it and get that result, you'd leapfrog ahead of Spurs again in the table, and suddenly that dream of Europe's alive and burning.
Yeah, I'm just really looking for a positive performance that gives us an opportunity of getting a result, Rich, and hopefully we'll do that. As I said, we're shooting ourselves in the foot at the moment, and it's very unlike us. We need to stop doing that. You can't give teams, the opportunities and the head starts in games and expect to catch them up and be 2-0 down at Old Trafford and come back and win 3-2 against world class players. It's Manchester United and it's world class players that you're playing against, not the dog and duck. So we have to cut out those errors and really play at our maximum, which, as I said to you before, we're just a little bit short of at the moment. But positive signs on Sunday from my point of view, and hope we can take another step forward on Thursday.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, Rich.
Hi, Chris. It's Adam this morning. Yeah,
Hi,
good. Thank you very much, Chris. Just in terms of John Lundstram, is he okay after he left at the weekend?
He has a scan today, and so we'll know the outcome of the scan this morning. But obviously, it was it looks, looking back at it looked quite an awkward fall, and so I should imagine he'll be touch and go for Thursday night. But we're all dependent on the results of the scan.
And obviously, you've said you'll assess Jack O'Connell. Has he got a chance of starting this week, or is it more a case of having a chance of being involved in the squad?
Yeah, well, every day goes by, so we have to have a decision. Every day goes by is a better day for us as a football club, and Jack as a player to be involved in the game. As you can imagine, his attitude is spot on, and he'll be doing everything that he possibly can in his power to make that happen as soon as possible. We just have to make that right decision as well, because we have to look at medium and long term with these type of injuries as well. So it will definitely be not a chance of us making a high risk decision. But if it's right for us, then we'll consider it. He's been, as I talked about, he's been fabulous for us for a number of years, and consistent player and part of that. But I've got to say, I think Jack Robinson's been our best player so far. Pound for pound, since we've come back, he's produced consistent performances, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that consistent performances. So I've got difficult decisions to make, and there's a couple of them that just need to up the game a little bit and get back to the standards that they've set. That has allowed us to play in the manner that we've done.
Jack Robinson clearly then has benefited from this game time. Would you like to try and get the likes of Ben Osborne and Luke Freeman a bit of game time as well, just to see what they can do to put some pressure on those other players? Well,
they're pushing, but I don't. This is the last 7 games of the season, Adam. 7 games of the season where we've got an opportunity to finish in the top 10. So I don't think it's about game time.
In terms of Dean Henderson and Rushero Zivkovic, the news yesterday that they've extended for the rest of the current season. How pleased are you to get that finalised eventually?
Yeah, I believed it was always going to happen. It's just it's not as straightforward as people think it is. There's negotiations, there's administration, paperwork to go through to allow them to extend. So we were confident that both the boys would be here to the end of the season, and delighted that they are.
And of course, you've got a whole host of other players in Jagielka, Kieran Freeman, Rodwell and Clark. They've all signed short-term extensions. Is that credit to them? Because there's players at other clubs that haven't decided to do that they are going to stay around and help you out if needed?
Yeah, there was never in my mind, knowing what the boys are like, a concern that they wouldn't re-sign, and I think that just shows what sort of characters they are. But as I said, there was never a concern. I was never anxious that they weren't going to sign and finish the season off for us.
Is there any chance that any of those can earn longer deals at the club? Is that something that's ongoing in the background?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
In terms of the performances recently, are the players potentially been a little bit too hard on themselves, or is that the sort of byproduct of the standards that they've set over the course of this season?
I think everybody talks about expectation all the time, and I answered that question after the game on Saturday. On Sunday, that if we'd have lost a few more games and we took a few more beatings along the way, that maybe the expectation level would have dropped, and would have been one of 3 promoted sides what their expectation level is, because Villa and Norwich are 2 sides that have not got as much expectation levels as what we have. So, but I think you can understand there was never ever going to be an opportunity to me to throw games through the season. So that goes through the roof, and you deal with it and accept it. And if people through the time have an opinion on it, when you don't put the performances in that they are expecting, then that's what happens. You open yourself up to that criticism. But we've had a lot of praise, and a lot of credits come our way, and we have to be big and bold enough to accept the other part of it when we're a little bit down. But any team can get beat 3-0 at Man United. Any team could get beat at Newcastle when you're down to 10 men. But that doesn't say that I've been happy with the standards of the players. And as you know, it's an open and an honest changing room and environment that we work in. But one which I've always said I'm the biggest backer of them, and I thought the performance was good enough for me on Sunday. If it's not good enough for other people, then I can't really control that. But for me, it was good enough. the goals are individual errors. The goal, the final goal against Arsenal was not just one; it was about 4 or 5. So these are certainly things that we need to eradicate from our play, because, as you said, it's not 3 or 4 years ago, and you're going and not getting punished. You're getting punished in the Premier League, and you're definitely getting punished when you play the likes of Man United and Arsenal, what they've got at the top of the pitch. So certainly, the platform to get in a performance is a lot of the things that the boys showed on Sunday. The distance that they covered, the high intensity runs, the commitment, the winning of first balls, the allowing us to dictate the game as we did the second half. We need to up our quality a little bit in the final third when we do create chances or do get into good positions, and we certainly have got to eradicate and cut out the silly mistakes. 7 out of 8 goals that we've conceded so far this season have been individual errors or individual errors plus 2 and 3. I can only recollect the third goal against Manchester United as one that you think that's a really good goal from their point of view, and we've been cut open by Fernandes and Martial and Rashford, who are all right. They're quite good, them 3. So that can happen to any team, but still don't like it. Don't like getting knocked out of the cup. Don't like losing. We've not been used to it. And I thought you saw that in the attitude of the players on Sunday. And it was a determined performance. It wasn't one of our best in terms of quality, but a reaction to a really disappointing evening at Old Trafford was a good reaction, and I think shows what the football club and the players are about.
Is it key now turning that improved performance into sort of those good field positions that you got into those chances, getting more people in the box in crossing positions? Is that what you're looking for to take that improved performance to the next level?
I think when Bash got into the box the other day, we had about 5 in the box. And I think when you looked at that sort of move, it went from one side to the other. You've got to finish your chances, of course. I'll look at that. If you flag that up, we need to get more men in the box. I'll have a little look at that today.
In terms of this week against Spurs, then you'll of course remember back to the previous game and the set of circumstances that went against you. Is this a game where you really should be going for the double against Spurs this season?
Quite a lot of things have gone against us so far this season, but I think that just shows the characteristics of the team. And certainly on that day, I was delighted. I thought it was an outstanding performance from us. I think at the time, they were obviously just moved into. I think it was about a £600 million stadium. So, and Pochettino had one of the best managers in the world, and some of the best players in Europe, and reached the Europe Champions League final. And that day, I was delighted with my team. Delighted that the reaction after we stood around for about 10 minutes, waiting for the decision on John Lundstrom's big toe not being offside, which it was, a mistake by us, and the reaction to score a great goal, and some disappointing bodies in the changing room after the game. So sometimes, it's not all about a win when you assess a performance. You have to assess who you're up against and assess what's happened in the game and assess the general play. It's not just looking to see what the result was in the paper the next day. So I was quite happy with that, as I was quite happy with what happened on Sunday. And if we can take it on from Sunday into Thursday, then cut out the silly mistakes, then hopefully will give us a little bit of an opportunity in maintaining our position in the top 10.
Are Spurs now a little bit more of a different prospect post-lockdown than they would have been? Of course, Son and Kane are back, and that's after they added Lo Celso and Bergwijn in the January transfer window.
What do you think then? Do you think they're weaker or stronger when you just talked about
I would suggest,
being back fit?
Hence the question, Chris. Yes, I think they're stronger.
Yeah, they're stronger. They're stronger,
and
obviously, people have their opinions on who it's affected and who it hasn't. So definitely from Spurs' point of view, maybe Manchester United's point of view, it has helped a couple of teams along the way, and obviously they'll be raring to go on Thursday night.
And obviously, a lot's been talked about the crowds being missing and everybody missing fans inside stadiums. But is it especially a big miss when it comes up against teams like the Big Six, where you have that extra underdog tag and those 30,000 Blades fans would potentially give you that little bit extra?
We were the underdogs in the Championship. We weren't favourites in the Championship. So when we go into the Premier League as a promoted side and everybody writes us off, we're underdogs from the off, with everything that is attached to the football club, from where the players have been, where they're going, what's happened. We're underdogs every game, and 100% rightly so. 100% rightly so. Not in our coconuts, we're not, because we've got that characteristic. A fighting mentality that we fancy ourselves, even when you look at it and possibly, reflect afterwards and going, really, if Manchester United say yes, but we're looking at ourselves always in our own changing room and in our mentality. So from an underdog point of view, there it is. From a connection with the supporters point of view, I don't think there's a bigger connection between a group of players and a club over the last 3 years, bigger than what it's been like for Sheffield United and the group of players. So if you're saying to me that the players and myself miss the supporters, absolutely 100%. And that ain't an excuse. That's just an absolute fact. I think if you talk to anybody who's got an ounce of knowledge about the game, would think that Arsenal coming to Bramall Lane on a pretty cold Sunday afternoon in March with 30,000 Sheffield United fans screaming at them with a few beers inside them would give the home team an advantage. I would possibly say that they would say, yes, United would have a bigger advantage. So, and then speaking to Steve Round afterwards, he thought that had gone in their favour. So yeah, these are things that we're having to deal with. The connection and the support that I've had personally and the players have had has been incredible. It has been both ways because of the performances that we've produced. I'd like to think that's as strong as ever, even though we're just having a little bit of a dip. So even though they can't help us in terms of voices and in terms of attitude, I'm sure that they're willing us on. So that gives me great enthusiasm and comfort that they understand that it's not always about, us winning all the time. That, sometimes is that connection when you're going through a little bit of a sticky period. So the 2-game losing period in terms from league performance, league results, we don't want to turn it into 3, and I'm sure every Sheffield United fan will be willing us on Thursday, even though they won't be inside our ground.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate your time.
Cheers, Adam. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Chris. I was at the reverse fixture, and as you say, you reacted to disappointment fantastically well. Looking back, is it actually one of your proudest moments of the season, one of the highs of the season?
Yeah, it is, Rob. Yeah, it was as I've always said, when you go into any club that you host and any club that you entertain, it's brilliant experience playing in the Premier League with all the build up to it, and and the atmosphere, the excitement, the adrenaline, the intensity of it all, and going away from home as well. You know, the drive up to a spaceship of a ground, an incredible ground that I've been to a couple of times, amazing. The welcome that you get, stepping into the ground, getting the team sheets, knowing that you're up against. It was brilliant for everybody, and then you're wanting your team to put on a performance and give yourself an opportunity of winning the game, and I've said, you know, I was asked that question, and a couple of the games that spring to mind was the Manchester United game at home and the Tottenham game away, and even though we didn't win the game of football, which is quite strange really, they were some of my sort of proudest moments so far this season, the way we reacted to disappointment, who we were up against, and came roaring back. So, yeah, it was a good afternoon for us, and we really need to reproduce those individual performances and the team performance to get anything from the game on Thursday.
You talked about always being the underdogs, and I appreciate you probably had plenty of these sort of comparisons all season, but the last time Jose Mourinho won a Premier League title, you just finished mid-table as Northampton manager. What does it mean to you personally to come up against him?
Yeah, well, first, congratulations to Northampton, my old club. I watched that game as much as I watched the Burnley Palace game as well, and I was delighted for Keith and his staff, and some of the players that were there and new players that have been brought in. I really enjoyed my time there, and most importantly, the chairman. Quite a difficult period. For him personally, from the football club, and great that they've tasted success. Really strange watching it at Wembley as well with no supporters, but they looked as if they enjoyed it afterwards, judging by some of the pictures and some of the videos that I saw. But not for me. Being in the Premier League personally, our football club being in the Premier League, going head to head with Tottenham is a great reward for what we've produced over the last couple of years and why we all want to be here. And without a shadow of a doubt, from my opinion, the manager is one of the greatest of the modern era of football, without a shadow of a doubt.
Thanks ever so much.
Cheers, Rob.
Take care.
Ian.
How are you?
How are you, mate?
Not too bad. Well, just following on from that, I was going to say, a lot of people have kind of written Mourinho off the last 2 or 3 years. I think maybe his star is on the wane a bit. But I gather from your last answer, you would disagree heartily with that.
I'm sure there might be a few people that when Man United were rebuilding that they might have talked about somebody else in those sort of terms as well. I think you're always judged, aren't you? You're always judged as a manager. You're always judged as a player. You're always judged as a team. Short term, now I suppose the only time to reflect on that is when he possibly finishes, and that's the only time that to make a judgment on it, in my opinion. Or a length of time, but I'm a big fan here.
If he was a special one, what tag would you give yourself?
Oh dear me, the not so special one at the moment, the very very ordinary one, the very very average one.
No, come on,
the very very frustrated with my team one.
But seriously, you had a lot of bad luck. I was in London for the 2-2 draw in the season, and Villa and the sending off at Newcastle. They say luck evens itself out over the course of the season. You're due for some serious amounts of luck, aren't you, in the next 6 games?
Keep going. We're due some decent refereeing performances, I know that, we just got to keep going, which delighted me on Sunday. We never felt sorry for ourselves. The reaction was very good. We're really disappointed we didn't get something from the game and go through to the semi-final. But we have to, looking at the game, we have to cut the silly errors out here. And it's absolutely killing us at the moment. And teams in the Premier League will take advantage of that. and we need to. So we need to keep that belief, cut out the individual errors. Defensive record has been brilliant. The structure of the team we still feel is a good one, and we're not getting unbelievably opened up. Apart from Manchester United at their best and us not at our best. But in the other 2 games, in the other 3 out of the 4 games, we've had for quite a long period of foothold in those games. So we certainly have to cut out the individual errors that are giving teams a foothold and obviously damaging us from a score point of view and from a confidence point of view as well, Ian.
Just 2 quick ones to finish with. Dean Henderson staying to the end of the season. Any chance next season?
Well, we're just delighted we've got him to the end of this season. He's been a big player for us, and delighted that we can see the season out with Dean in goal for us.
Take Ollie out for a pizza over the summer, huh?
Again, sorry, Ian.
Take Ollie out for a pizza over the summer.
Yeah.
And finally, today is 100 days since lockdown began. So I just wanted to, what's the one thing you learned about yourself in the last 100 days?
No, I'm never going to retire from football unless I get retired by somebody. That hasn't happened so far, Ian, but it certainly could be if I keep losing games of football.
It'll never happen.
How much I've missed it, how much I've missed the interaction with the supporters, the excitement of that, how much I've missed going to work through obviously the early part and totally understanding what the reasons why. I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, but you've asked me a personal question, and I can't see myself at this moment not having football in my life, and hopefully football with crowds comes back as soon as possible, because that's been a huge miss for myself personally.
Good luck against Spurs.
Cheers, Ian. Take care, mate.
Thank you.
Rob.
Chris, do you feel the corner was turned with the performance against Arsenal?
Yeah, we were looking for that, Rob, weren't we? As I've said before, 3 out of the 4 halves of football, Villa was okay first and second half. First half, Newcastle was okay. Second half, we've talked about, and from Manchester United, individual errors, timings of the goals were poor, and then you see who you're up against. So the preparation for the game was good. I had a real good vibe about the day and about the performance. We were going to get one from them, and we did. Is there a couple that are still below the standard that they've set? Yeah, but not far off. As we always say, subjectively and objectively looking at the game, the numbers that we've got in terms of what we look at from a statistical point of view, we're up there. What we wanted to achieve, passes, areas that we got into, a little bit of quality in the final third. From a defensive point of view, didn't really have to do much. Dean's had 1 save to make first half, not a lot second half. Individual error for the goal, and culmination of errors for the second goal really disappoints me. But the attitude of the group was great, and hopefully we've taken a step forward, and we can take another step forward on Thursday.
What can you expect from Spurs? Well,
you can expect world-class performances, especially at the top of the pitch. Results so far, what they've had. Obviously, Manchester United Tottenham was a very, very close game. Players that they've got back playing for them. One of the top strikers in Europe. One of the top young talents in Dele Alli in Europe. Son, Moura. Just right the way through. They've stellar squad, huge football club, and an incredible manager.